I can smell the flowers.
What do they smell like?
They smell like blueberries. No, they don't smell.
They don't smell.
No, they don't. They don't smell like blueberries. Hi!
I'm Gaea and this is Aiyana. She's 2.5 years old and is soon to be a big sister. I was just reflecting over the last few weeks about how I wanted to document my pregnancy this time around. Last time I just did it through photos intermittently. And then upon further reflection, I thought I was just reflecting on how much the YouTube community has benefited me over the past few years. I've just gained so much from it in so many different aspects of my life. So I thought, why not share it on this platform if I'm documenting it anyway? For the odd occasion that someone might benefit from some aspect of my experience or gain something, or that it might just speak to someone's experience. So I mean, I would love to journey with you guys through this. So please feel free to share advice, your experience, just any general feedback. We're all in this together. It really does take a community to raise a child, and the community has really expanded, and it's really, really quite special what has been created through this medium. So without further ado, I will jump into an update as to where I'm up to at the moment with things, and I will give something for Aiyana to do. Say bye!
Bye.
Okay, Aiyana is occupied. Okay, so I will give you guys the initial lowdown of where I'm at. I am apparently roughly 6 weeks and a few days. So I say roughly because when we went to get our dating scan, she was like, you have a little sack. And the sack measures that you're like 5.5 weeks, not 8, which is what we thought. Sorry, fluff. So I had totally miscalculated when my last period was. I was going off of a memory that I'd had to have a tampon at some point because I was swimming. So I backtracked and found the messages that I'd organized this swimming, whatever. And from that, I was like, oh, I didn't have a period in December. How funny, I must be so much further along. And I totally had a period in December, and it must have been really cruisy and not eventful, and I'd forgotten about it. So, that's bad. I really am bad at tracking my period. So early January, like super early, like a few days in to the new year, I was like, breast tenderness. Last time this was pregnancy, but it could just be period related, like I haven't done the calculations yet. This is just me doing life, and I notice, tuning into my body, notice I have sensitive breasts, give Michael the heads up. And then a few days after that, after being like, oh, okay, I should probably just do a test. So around the 9th of January, I showed positive, was with a girlfriend at the time, which was awesome. It's how it worked out last time, having girl support there. So then after doing the test, I was like, all right, let's do the calculations. When was my last period? As you know, I based it on, completely got it wrong. Then I went to the doctor and was like, yep, so this is when my last period was. And she's like, great, you're probably 8 weeks. Let's go get your referrals done for your dating scan, plus your blood tests, blah, 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 get all those balls rolling. So in the sonography, you already know now. So she's there in the sack. It was cute to see the sack. But she was like, oh, you're 5.5 weeks. So it was cool to kind of get like a semi-due date. And she said based on the fact that I was 5.5 weeks and this little computer in it that projected 17th of September being my due date. She said, come back anyway for a super accurate dating. So in between the dating scan and now, Michael and I managed to sneak in a little couple's getaway with Aiyana being babysat, which literally was the first time that we had had a holiday since she was born. And we were like, how have we not done this earlier? But we did it, and it was awesome. It was amazing. The only kind of downside of it was that all my symptoms were just like, yeah, we're pregnant. So lots of sleeping throughout the day. All of a sudden the food aversion decides to show up with the nausea, and before that it was just peeing a lot and kind of struggling to sleep and a bit of bloating, which actually was really not fun in like week 4 and 5. But this time the nausea and the food aversion's just, it's horrible. Give me bloating any day. So that was not fun. But the time with just each other was awesome, and it actually gave me time to like reflect on my parenting and to really miss her, which is really cool. Not that I don't love and miss her, but like you don't really get the chance to miss someone unless you're away from them. So it was really nice to, actually it was really horrible. Come the second night I was like, oh, I can't do this, because I was not getting sleep and kind of had emotional hormonal anxiety. But it was awesome when I saw her, and it was really, really special. Yeah, so that brings me up to where I am now. The food aversion since being back home and the nausea has kind of toned down a little bit. I think it was actually exacerbated by the fact that I was eating out at restaurants and not just eating food at home, which I'm familiar with, like, gut flora and whatnot. So yeah, so it's actually been pretty cruisy since being back at home symptoms wise. I guess I've just had the fatigue thing really settle in, and it sucks because you're just like, oh, I feel so lazy. Like it's not fun feeling fatigued. But I'm grateful that I'm not crazy nauseous and bloated and all the other yucky stuff. Still kind of little bits of nausea after eating, but it's so mild. Like last pregnancy, it was bad for like 4 days. I shouldn't really complain. It was bad for 4 days. I didn't even throw up, but I guess I haven't experienced anything else. But it was chronic for like 4 days, whereas this is like this bizarre, like coming and going of this mild nausea that will kind of get like really horrible and then it will go away. So I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. Feel like I'm still peeing all the time. Sleep has been so much better, so much better. I'm so grateful. It was probably just because the week that sleep was not wonderful was because it was like 43-degree days and not getting cool at all at night. So yeah, I probably will do a little belly shot right now. I can't think of anything else to talk about. I might also do a little like segment now or after I do the belly shot on just what's happening with the little one, development wise. I think it's super interesting, especially when they're so tiny and you haven't associated with them being like fully baby looking yet. It's really cool to still know like all of the absolutely complex little parts of their development that are taking place. So I'll insert that too. Yeah, so here goes to the tummy shot that's not really a tummy at the moment. Yeah, so there's my belly shot. I was just chatting a bit about where the embryo was positioned in my uterus and blabbing on a bit about my bloating that I'd had. So if you see any tummy at this stage, it's really just my gas baby. I mentioned I would include a peek into baby's developmental milestones and changes over the week, so I'll just jump straight into that, starting back at week 4. So, in the 4th week of my pregnancy, what was my little blastocyst, a tiny ball of rapidly multiplying cells, has now officially begun the embryonic phase of its existence and is the size of a poppy seed. So from this point up until week 10 is where all of baby's organs will begin to develop and when some will even start to function. The embryo at this stage is made up of 2 layers consisting of the epiblast and the hypoblast, from which all of its organs and body parts will develop. Pretty cool. So by week 5 of my pregnancy, baby had grown from the size of a wee poppy seed to the size of a sesame seed. And the neural tube from which baby's spine, brain, nerves, and backbone would sprout, or will sprout still, was starting to develop in the top layer called the ectoderm. This will also give rise to the skin, hair, nails, mammary glands, and sweat glands, and tooth enamel. Its heart and circulatory system began to form in the middle layer, or the mesoderm. And it was also last week, that its tiny heart started to divide into little chambers and beat and pump blood. The mesoderm will also form baby's muscles, cartilage, bone, and tissues under its skin. The third layer, or endoderm, will house its lungs, intestines, and early urinary system, as well as its thyroid, liver, and pancreas. And in the meantime, the quite primitive placenta at this stage, along with the umbilical cord, has been delivering tons of nourishment and oxygen to baby. So that brings us up to now, the 6th week of my pregnancy, and baby has graduated from sesame seed size to lentil sized. So that's about 1/2 centimeter or 1/4 of an inch long, apparently. So the major developments happening right now are its nose, mouth, and ears are beginning to take shape, so that they are the dark spots that you can see on the embryo, the nostrils and the eyes. And then its ears are marked by like small depressions on the sides of its head, and its arms and legs are like little buds protruding. His heart is beating about 100 to 160 times a minute, which is about twice as fast as ours, and blood is like coursing hardcore through its body at this point. Its intestines are developing, and the bud of tissue that will give rise to its lungs has appeared. His pituitary gland is forming, and the rest of his brain, muscles, and bones. So there you have it. Oh, I see.
Mommy, come and play. Hannah, come and play. Mommy, come and play.
Okay, say bye to everybody.
Bye.